What I'm going to do in this video here is I'm just going to build an app from scratch, just so you all can follow along. What's up, everybody? Matt here. So if you look inside the community, there's a fair amount of tips and tricks and posts and everything about how to do looping with actions. And so far, everything that I found inside there, other than one post, is all about like iterating through a list, but having something that's like keeping track of what you're doing, or like removing something from the list physically. It's actually keeping track of some data. There's another post I found that somebody suggested where it doesn't require any keeping track of things, any iterator, keep tracking thingamajigger, or whatever you want to call it. It doesn't require any of that. It's literally just kind of loops over what needs to be done. And so I haven't really seen any kind of really good how-tos on how to do these things, so I figured I'd make a video. So here we are. Let's get to it. Okay, so here I am in the community, and you can see there's a couple. If you search for looping with actions, you'll find a few different things, right? If you look for just like the tips and tricks, there's a whole bunch of questions, but there's like add rows from a date range. Most of them are from Steve. He's been a very busy man. But you know, if we go inside one of these, basically the idea that he's got is that there's a thing that keeps track of what needs to be done. But it's like an actual data value that requires like an actual data change. You know what I mean? And see this like count. So we have like a count of things to do, and then when we do one, we remove it from the list. Instead of doing it this way, because that results in a whole bunch of data changes that have to go back and forth with the database, there's a way that you can do this to where instead of having that count column keeping its count, you create a virtual column that has a list of the stuff that still needs to be done. So what I'm going to do in this video here is I'm just going to build an app from scratch, just so you all can follow along. So the app that I'm going to make is going to have the following structure. We're going to have a products table that really serves as just kind of like a reference for stuff. There's an order that serves as the parent. There's an order detail as the child, and order detail fulfillment as the grandchild. And the overall ending product will look like this. You will be able to create an order, be able to select X number of products, and when you save, it automatically creates the child records, and each child record has an associated grandchild. Let's get to it. The way I'm going to start is I'm going to go to my apps, and I'm going to use this quick start thing, and I'm going to start with an idea. The point is, this is the spec thing. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to have a products table just like that. So I just clicked on that. If product thing wasn't available, you could just type in products, and then the option will come up. This app has a collection of products. Make sure you select that, and really that's all I really need it to do. You know, I'll add in here that users can add items, users can edit products, users can delete products, you know, give some permissions. But really all I'm doing here is looping with actions. But really all I'm doing here is I'm creating a table that can serve as our products table, so that in the parent that we're going to create, we can select a number of products, and we'll have this table with some data inside it so that we don't have to go through and create that. One of the nice things about Spec, generate sample data really fast. So here we are. We've got 20 samples, 20 products. And so now if I go to data and I want to view the source, so here we are. This is our data source for this app. All right, so we've got a list of products here, right? I'm going to add a table. Okay, so now the premise for this app is we're gonna have The simplest thing I can think of is an order sample to go with, right? So we're going to have an orders table. We're going to have an order details table. Okay, so I'm going to, I like to color code my stuff so it's a little easier for me. Okay, so there we go. So on my orders table, right? So I'm gonna have an order ID, right? It's the first thing to identify it. You can have like an order date, you can have an order creator. We'll pull in the email of the person that created it. Fair enough, sure, whatever. The real thing that we need though is order products. So this is gonna be an enum list of the ref type. And don't mind me, I just do a lot of formatting things too. I like it to look a certain way. So this is the order products will be a drop down of all of the products in the products table, and it'll store the key value there. And it's from that list where we're going to loop over it and create an order detail for each item inside that list. Let's see. So yeah, I don't really need anything else out of there. And then on the order details, right, we're going to have an order detail ID. We're going to have an order link. That's the reference back to the order. So this is going to have a order detail. I'm going to give all of my columns that little prefix so that I keep things unique. So this is the order detail product. Okay, so that's where we'll set what the product is that's being added to this order. And really, realistically, that's all that we need. You could add to your heart's content. In fact, I'm going to come back here and I'm going to simplify these things. This is just going to be how to what you need, right? So we've got ID and we've got the products. No, I won't. And then we have order details. It literally just has an ID. It has a link back to the order, and it has a product that it's going to be a reference or an enum probably to the product table. Okay, so that's all we need. So now I'm going to go back to my app and I'm going to refresh things. That way AppSheet picks up that I have these new tables. There we go. It just wasn't picking up on the other tables. All right, now I'm gonna come in. Whatever. I'm gonna add the orders table. And add the order details table. Okay. So now I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna say make sure that this is doing what it's supposed to. Unique ID. Yep. Cool. We can unhide that. We can unlabel it. And we can unshow it. So order products, this needs to be an enum list with a base type reference that's a drop down. And we'll have to stop for there. We'll have to come back and tell it where we need it to go. On the order details, so we need to, same thing on the key. We can hide the key. We can make it unsearchable and it's not the label. So the order link needs to be a reference back to the order table. We'll make it as a part of, sure. And the order product will be an enum, the base type ref, drop down. And that. All right, now part 2 of each of those enums. So the order products enum list, we need to specify, yep, okay, it's already did it. On the products table, that's what we want. And for the order details, the product needs to be, okay, it's already on the product table. Cool. Okay, so now that we've got our basic structure of everything set up, right? So if I come through here and I just create a new order and I select the new products, you can see it doesn't know what to give it. So that's because when I set this as an enum list as a ref to the products table, I didn't give it a valid if to list what should be available. So what you need to do is you need to come inside here and just say list all of the product IDs. So the name of the table, the name of the key. And when I do that, cancel all of that. When I make a new order, now I can see all my products. And it's an enum list, so I can select any number that I want. Okay, so now that's part one. So now part two is I need to create an action that will create an order detail record, right, for each item inside the list, or at least, for one of the items in the list. So that's what I'm going to do now. So we go to behavior, we create a new action, and this is going to be on the order table, and I'm going to call this new order detail. I'm going to call this new first order detail. And what are we going to do? We are going to add a row to another table using values from this row. All right, kind of in the middle. We're going to add a row to the order details where the order link is the order ID and where the order detail product equals the index of the order products, right? Because order products is a list of all the stuff we need to create. And so I'm saying, pull for me the first thing from that list, make this item. So bam, that's what this will do. Now I'm not going to show this. I'm going to put this with this little icon. I like to use it for processing. Now, all right, now what we actually need to do is we need to change this list. So once I save all of this, kind of get it in the system. All right, now if we go back to data, columns, we go to orders, we have a list of related order details, right? Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to pull from this a list of all of the products that have been created inside the order details. This is a list dereference. It's a very helpful thing to do. And so we just create a new item. We call this created products. Sure, doesn't really matter. It's kind of an internal thing for us. And so what you do is you come down here to your related order details, and then you put from your order detail table this column, the order detail product, right? And you just list that right next to it. Don't put the dot or anything. And so this creates a list of enum, but I can tell this that it's actually a list of references. And if I save this and come back to it, I can say, yeah, it's a list of products. And so now on the order side, let's see. So if I create a new order with an order product, oh, I did the same problem that I ran into with here. I need to put this valid if in the order detail in the product. Yep, because this is a reference. It's an enum reference to the product table, but I didn't give it a valid if to tell it what options should be available. All right. So if I cancel this, I cancel this. All right. So now I'm going to look at things. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say product 1, right? I'm going to create a new for product 1. I'm going to save all of this because now if I look at this, right? So I have my order details here. So that's this one, the related order details, but then I have created products down here, which is a list of products, right? So it's a list from the product table. So it's holding the key value from the products. And these are the ones that have been created, okay? And so now we've got a list of everything that we need to make. We've got a list of stuff that has been created. So you can see where this is going. The next one is create another column, remaining products to be created. Like, I'm just literally going to get verbose with it. And so I'm sure you can imagine this is the original product list minus our created products list. List math in AppSheet is awesome. And there you go. So now we've got this list here, which is the remaining list of products to be created. Right? So I mean, there's a whole bunch of like kind of some duplicates going on there. So why? Oh, because I know I need to go to option or behavior, offline and sync, and push automatic updates on. That way it starts pushing the syncs that I do. All right, so we go orders. I'm gonna say order product 1, right? So these are the ones that still need to be created. I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna create product 1. Boom. And so now I've got a detail, I have the created products, but this list of remaining things to be created is empty. So it's this remaining list of things to be created. It's this thing right here that tells the system what still needs to be done. As long as there's stuff inside that list, we need to keep going. There you go. And so now you can hide a great many of these, you know, extra columns that you created inside here. Like the created ones, I would hide this. Unless you want to see the things that still need to be done, like you want to make it to where if they click on it, it does something, then maybe still show it. But realistically, I'm going to hide that too. All we really care about is that we're seeing the product detail, right? Because we're not going to create those manually. We're going to create a system to do it. All right, so everything is in place now. And so what I can do is I go back to behavior and I say, here's this this action, right, that actually creates that child record, right? It sets this and it sets the order detail, the order product detail to the first item in the list, right? All right, but we need to change this from that master list to the remaining list, right? And so we say, okay, inside that table, there's a list of remaining products that need to be created. Pull for me the first one from that list and use that for the product inside the order detail. And so as soon as you do that and you save that record, right, inside that remaining list of things to be created, that one goes away. All right. So this only needs to execute if, I think you know where this is going, is not blank the thingamajig down here if it'll appear. Oh, whoa, I'll just grab it from here. If is not blank the remaining list of items to make is not blank remaining products to be created, right? Doesn't wanna, there we go. So now that action will only run whenever there's still stuff to be made. All right, now it's time to get into the looping part. All right, so we've got our thing to actually create the records. So now, okay, so this order right now is like, we could consider it done, right? It's got one product inside the list and there's one order product inside the list over there. List, whatever. All right, so now this one, right? So now I'm just gonna leave it at this. So now it's got 2 products and it needs 2 more to be created. All right, so that means we need to run this action on this record twice. So let's create our loops. So we come inside here. The first thing you need to create is your loop action. I literally just call it loop, and I'm going to call this create order details. It's on the order table, and it's going to it's a grouped execute a sequence of actions type of action. So the first thing that you need to do is that one that you created where it actually creates the thing. Okay? And now leave this here for now. We need to create another action. So create another one. This one is the loop repeater. Literally, I like to keep things pretty standard. So like, I'll just copy that up here. And so this is the repeater for the create order details. Now like, I'm keeping this pretty generic, create order details. I would make that specific for whatever it is that this loop is for. You know what I mean? So like, this is creating the product, whatever. You see, I get a little more specific with it, but in the brevity of here, sake of brevity. So this is going to live on the order table. And what this does, this is the key, this is the secret sauce. So this is, you want to data execute an action on a set of rows. And you want to execute an action on the order table. The record, the referenced row, is the order ID, the same one that we're working on, right? But you have to wrap this in list like this in order for the system to accept it. So it's just a list of one record. And what do we want it to do? We want it to loop. That's the key, right? So I'm gonna do my little formatting things to make them go away. Now the condition onside this loop is the same condition that's onside, or all of these have the same condition. Only run when that list of the stuff to be created is not blank. And so then, so like I have that stored here, so I can just copy this and say, don't run the loop unless that's true. I can say, don't run the repeater unless that's true. Okay, so this repeater action, that one's done. Now what we need to do is come back here to our loop, and so it's a two-step process. Where the first one is it actually creates that item. Then the second one is the repeater. So now what this does is it says when you call this loop action, right, it creates the first item, and then it calls this action, which says start this one over again. And so it doesn't finish, like if you have other actions inside here, like if you had, you know, whatever, it wouldn't come down here to these other ones. It would do number one, and then it would loop again, as long as there's items in that list. More on that later. So right now with this will loop over and create a new order detail for each item that's inside that list over and over in just like a blink of an eye. Now I'm going to put this loop action, I'm going to put this inside the form event action for the orders form. So inside the orders form view element, right? Come down here to event actions. Instead of doing this, I want to say do the loop create order details. So what this does is when I save this, if there's any, you know, like if I've done this and so now there's those virtual columns that say, oh, there's still things that need to be created. When I save this, it's going to run this loop and loop over all of those and create the things for me. So I'm going to get rid of this order details button here on the inside of the form. And so that's related order details. It's the virtual column on the order parent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a show if formula for it that says context view type does not equal form. And so with that, this will go away inside the form. And because I put that event action on there, when I save the form, it's going to run that loop. So let's see. what happens? Well, here we go. So the loop action is visible because I forgot to hide it. So this, when I tap it, it should create 2 order details, right? It should create one for product 1, one for product 2. Boom. Just like that. Don't you love it when stuff works? And so now if I create a new order and I come in here and I say all these products, right? When I save and I come in here, look at that. They're all automatically created for me. So that is how you can create a looping system without having to do some sort of iterative tracking thing where you're keeping like, this is the thing I'm working on, we've got 5 left to do. Instead of actually doing a data change, you just use virtual columns to keep track of all of that. And the system just moves really fast through all of that. Now, one thing I want to throw in here is I was talking about if you have actions here to where they happen after the loop, then they don't happen until that loop is completed. So like, for instance, let's say that we wanted to add a 3rd layer to this app here, right? So we have orders, we have order details, and now I want to add in a 3rd layer that keeps track of like when somebody has fulfilled that product for the order. Okay, so if I do that, I'm just going to create another sheet. I'm going to call this order detail fulfillment, something like that. I'm pretty sure that's spelled wrong. So I'm going to call this ODF ID. So my prefix will be ODF. So I'm going to have an order link. I'm going to have a order detail link. Okay. I'm going to have a product link. Okay, right. And all of these things are just going to be like enums so that I can dereference information back and forth. Do I need anything else? Yeah, well, no, I'll just call the presence of the fulfillment record. The thing has been fulfilled. Anything else? Let's see, I've got the ID, I've got what order it belongs to, I've got what order detail it belongs to, which is the one that really matters. I've got the product that it's supposed to be. Good enough. You can add anything else that you would want onto this list, you know what I mean? Like the date when it was fulfilled, who fulfilled it, so on and so forth. So I'm going to come back here to my app and I'm going to have to Control F5, refresh. That refreshes the browser link in Chrome, ignoring the cache. So it's like a fresh comeback. There we go. Just had to go the long way. All right, so I got my order fulfillment table inside here. So let's set up some columns. So this is the ID, so I can hide it. It's unique ID, it's the key, it's editable, not the label, not searchable. Okay. So the order link, this will be an enum of the reference type. We'll have to come back. The detail is the same thing. It's an enum. The reference type, we'll have to come back. And the product is the same thing. It's an enum of the reference type. Actually, now that I think about it, the detail link, this should be a true reference because this actually belongs to that. So now, yep, when you save that, it comes back and it's like, oh, what do these need to be? So this needs to be an enum to the order table. And then, yep, don't forget you need to set the valid if. So this would be orders, order ID. Okay. And the order detail. So this one we don't need to do the valid if thing for. This will do it automatically for us. But we do need to do a valid if because we need to pull from the order link a list of all of the order details. So I'm just going to come here and copy that. All right. We say from the order, pull the related order details. This is required. And this product needs a valid if for all the products. Product key. Save. All right. So all I just did there was set all of the enum references to the right tables, set the valid if formulas to the appropriate things so that they're all grabbing the right data and pointed in the right direction. But now that everything's as it should be, so look, if I go to order details, this needs to go to order details, my bad. Save that so it propagates, there it is. So yeah, now we have this related order detail fulfillments. So you can see where this is going, right? We did the same thing on the order table. We have a list of what needs to be done. We have a list of stuff that's done. So we need to do the same thing again. So we have this the order product that needs to be made. And we have this order fulfillment. So we could create another one, or we could just call the presence of that fulfillment record good enough. I'm gonna go with that route. You could get a little more strict and actually program it in if you want, but I'm just going to go with the presence is good enough. So what do we need now? Now we're talking about creating child records for each of the child records, grandchild's records for each of the child records. Because remember, the order is our parent, order details is our child, and so now we're talking about the order detail fulfillment. That's a grandchild level. But since everything has an order link to it, we can group everything with that. It makes things just a tad bit easier. So what we need now is that an action that says I want to be able to push this action on the on this order table that says like fulfill, to where it's like this order is fulfilled, and it creates those grandchild records. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down here to behavior, right? And it's going to be on, we need a new action on the order table. And what we're going to do is, let me think for a second. No, we don't need to do it on the order table. No, what we need to do, this needs to live on the order detail table, and this is going to be a new order detail fulfillment, whatever, right? And so this adds a new row to another table using values from this row. We're adding it to the fulfillment where the order detail link is the order detail, where the order link is this order, and the product is this product. And so just a little minor formatting, hide it so we don't need to see it. And this action only needs to run if is blank related order fulfillments. Right? Because we're on the child level, and so we're saying if the grandchild is empty, make the grandchild. Okay, so now that we have that on the order details, now what we can do is we can come back here to the order level and we can say, okay, for each of the child records, run that grandchild creation action. So create a new action. It lives on the order table. I'm going to call this ref new, and this is going to be fulfillments. We'll just call that good. Order fulfillments, whatever. There we go. So now what this does is it's one of these where you execute an action on a set of rows, and we say for the order detail table for these rows, and so we come in here and we say for the related order details, run the action new order detail fulfillment. Now that runs it over every record inside that list, but the action itself has the condition to only run when it needs to create that grandchild record. So like you run this the first time, and if all of them need grandchildren, it creates all the grandchildren. You run it again, it's not going to do anything. If you run it the first time and there's only one record that needs to be created, it only creates the one record. Do it again, see what I'm saying? So you don't need to put any of the conditions or anything on these because it's at that, like, it's at the actual, you could call it like the root level if you wanted, you know, the point where it's actually creating things. That's the one that's paying attention to whether or not it should run. So I've got my ref new that runs. So now what I'm going to do is I've got this. I'm going to do my little formatting thing, hide it. We don't need to see it. Now I'm going to put a condition on this to where this will only run if is not blank order details. You don't have to put it here. I like to. Okay, so now this guy only runs whenever there's children record that have been created. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to my loop, and I'm going to add this after my repeater. So now the loop is as follows. When you initiate it, it creates the first item out of the list that needs to be done, and then it starts the loop. So then it goes back and it does the second one, and then it does the loop. And then it goes back and it does the third one, and it goes back and does the loop X number of times. And then when that's done, then it does this ref new order fulfillments. So now you've gone through and you've created X number of child records, and then the third action down here is saying, okay, now for all of those that I just made, create these records for those, right? So now I'm going to just save and leave this as it is so that we can come back here and I can show you, okay, here we go. I can create a new product, a new order. So if I come in here and I show you, right, so there's no order fulfillments on this guy. But if I create a new one for product 1 and save, didn't even notice it, right? So we've got a child record created. We got a grandchild record created. Didn't even notice that it happened. That's how fast it was. Come in here. I'm going to select all of them. So there's 20 products now. Kind of noticed that. There was a little bit of a blip that happened there, right? But look at this. We got 20 grandchildren, and each one of these has its own associated fulfillment. So I hope this kind of clears up some of the confusion about how to do some of this stuff. There's, you know, without having to like actually do some data changes back to the app. I'm going to make this sample app available like as it is. Maybe I'll do a little rounding out of some other bits. But you know, the functionality for everything is done as it is. So I'm just gonna pretty much leave it there. You can copy it, look through it as you want to your heart's content, or you could just follow along from the beginning and get hopefully to this exact same point that I'm at right now. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions. If you like this video, I would appreciate a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, that would be great. You know, it's always helpful, you know, to get more activity on the channel, if you will. If you really like what I'm doing, you can consider subscribing to my Patreon page. It's $10 a month. I've got some goodies over there, some tools, some tricks and things that I've kind of figured out and made some stuff to kind of make things a little easier with working with apps. It's all over there at patreon.com/multitech. Thanks for watching, y'all. Have a good one.